Going to talk about hydraulic fracking and its impact on environment and human life. Hydraulic fracking is a system that's been licensed in the close 1940 in the United States, and it's a system of a unique type of drilling or wellbore in order to extract gas and oil, but particularly gas. Pretty much it combines the use of drilling, which means to drill a bore well into the surface of the earth, and then propel a combination of chemicals, they are called proppants, with water and sand inside the soil. Now, this propelling of proppants will basically create cracks or breakings inside the shale rock. And in order to keep these breaks open, through down the pipe of the wellbore will be some substances, some chemicals will be injected. And these chemicals have the purpose to keep the breaks open so that the gas and the oil can spill out from the pipe and be collected on the surface. Now, one of the main issues with fracking is the effects on health and environment. According to the American Health Association, the increasing numbers of drilling sites, more and more people are at risk from accidents and exposure to harmful substances such as carcinogenic agents that are used during the process of fracturing the soil. Now, the legislation was not clear until 2011, when the United States government has compelled the fracking companies to issue or to at least make public the release of list of chemicals that have been used during the fracturing process. And therefore, they utilize a medical commission in order to verify and to establish if those elements were actually harmful or not. Now, the results of such exposure, such inquiry, underlined the presence of at least 12 elements. They are considered to be extremely harmful and in some events even lethal to human beings and certainly to life. Amongst which we can find hydrochloric acid, sodium chloride, polyacrylamide, glycol, borate salt, potassium carbonate, biocide, guar gum, which is actually not extremely dangerous because it's from natural sources, but nevertheless it's not healthy, citric acid, isopropanol, arsenic, benzene, toluene, formaldehyde, and others. There are some also extremely dangerous substances which are radioactive heavy metals that came after a combination between all these substances with the minerals contained in the soil. Now, the environmental impact of fracking is pretty much related to five different areas: water impact, air impact, climate change or climate impact, land use, and noise. I would like to start from water impact, And the water impact is extremely serious and perhaps is the most serious one. Now, all those propellants they are used in hydrofracking have a chance, actually a very big chance, to get in contact with water wells, underground water wells, and contaminate aquifer ponds that have been used by humans to drink, to access to drinking water. One of the most serious problems is that all these propellants, all these chemicals, they have been used, might leak into the aquifer ponds through pipe fractures, meaning the pipe during the drilling process or during the usage process is subject to breaking, to leaking. Now, once these pipes leak these liquid propellants, and these liquid propellants will get in contact with aquifer, inevitably they will pollute it, they will contaminate it. And by contaminating the aquifer will directly contaminate also water wells. They have been used by households for normal daily activities such as cooking or washing. Now, considering the extreme danger of these substances and the impossibility to repair the pipe fracture, in many cases the quality of these pipes is low because they need to use economical or at least on-budget systems. The damage to the population is just a matter of how heavy. There is another problem related to waters, that is the wastewaters. Now, there are two types of wastewaters that are extremely dangerous. One is the flowback water, and the other one is what they call produced water. I like to concentrate mostly on the produced waters because flowback water is pretty much the water that is returning to the surface after the process, which means the water that the propellants have been injected are returning up to the surface. In this case, they can be, if properly done, they can be contained. They can be properly handled and somehow purified. The produced water, though, is that one is the most dangerous because this is water that is produced during the process of the dwelling, during the process of fracking, and is not coming up, is remaining, is residing underground for a long period of time. Now, this water can either come back during the drilling procedure, or it can just stay underground and therefore contaminate the aquifer. This is extremely dangerous waters because it can contain the highest majority of pollutants, such as, for example, radium. Radium is a very radioactive waste element. It's extremely dangerous to human life. In many cases, the containment ponds that have been used for produced water or return waters are actually low quality. So they leak extremely huge amount of liquids, and they dramatically influence wildlife in the surrounding areas. The impact of this type of water on the local wildlife, both in terms of vegetations and animals, is extremely serious. There is also another problem, is the air impact, quality air impact. One of the main waste gases coming out from fracking is natural methane. Now, methane is extremely dangerous. It's pretty much the same gas that we use in our stoves, but is responsible for, is the main actually culprit for greenhouse gases effect. Now, the catch of methane is the following. Many advocates of, many supporters of the fracking do sustain that, do advocate that actually methane it can be solvable in air much faster than CO2, and they are right about this. But the difference, the catch, is that the methane is 84 plus times more dangerous than the CO2 in terms of greenhouse effect. After 20 years, or a period of 20 years or so, methane is just not just disappear. Methane will actually turn into CO2, and CO2 lasts for at least 100 years more. So we actually are creating a never-ending cycle of production and not disposable gases, that they just increase our greenhouses problem. Many issues with water pollution and air pollution during fracking activities are related to health, human health. In this case, the effects are extremely huge, and there is a huge variety of diseases coming up from this. From the mildest one, it could be skin irritation, lungs irritation, sore throat, eyes irritation, to a very serious one like leukemia, skin cancer, lung cancer, throat cancer, and so forth. Genetical dysfunctioning, misbirth, miscarriages, and so forth. All of these issues have been addressed, are addressed right now, but it seems like economic or economical interest do have the upper end on this. Climate change is deeply related with air pollutant, and unless this particular topic is not addressed at the international level, the three countries that use more fracking in the world, there are United States, Canada, and China, will continue to pollute and reaching a level which all of us have to pay, even if we don't live in that place. So we are actually facing a problem that is not only regional, just like it could be in the United States, could be in Canada or China, but actually the greenhouse effect is something that is perceivable all around the world. We are in Malaysia, we might very well feel the effect of fracking in the United States, Canada, and China, and that's very unfair. The accumulation of particularly methane is very evident with increase of fracking. So until 1940, 1950, 1960, the methane concentration in the atmosphere was relatively low. Its concentration was mainly product of natural activities or human activities, but still not influencing too much what actually we are witnessing today. Today, especially started in the latest 20 years, starting with the United States, proceeding with Canada, and then with China, finally we reach a level of very worrisome and preoccupying level of methane in the atmosphere. And this is directly proportional to fracking. So, final conclusion, even though there is a quite huge quantity of scientists, in particular those that are related to business, to what you call business science, still advocating that fracking is environmental friendly. fossil fuels type of extracting process, we can just use our senses and see what's happening to the communities afflicted and plagued, really, by this natural exploitation activity. Now, the thing is, none of us is really naive to say that we want a total full green planet, because unless we are investing deeply into nuclear fusion, this is not going to happen. Our economies, our countries, from transportation to industry, from military to high tech, all these sectors, they all use fossil fuel energy. So I'm not saying that we should immediately, right now, switch off all fossil fuel energy sources. But it's definitely not because we don't have alternatives. It's simply because these businesses, these investments are not made attractive enough in terms of investments. Some people might say that there is no alternative to fracking. Actually, there are alternatives to fracking. And the alternatives to fracking could be, for example, is what you call air fracking. Air fracking is injecting helium, propelled helium and no liquids into the surface of the Earth. And even though it's quite invasive, it's not nearly as invasive as is the hydraulic fracking. So this concludes the general introduction of hydraulic fracking and the impact on human health. Thank you.